Good day, listeners. Today, we will be talking about biodiversity and ecosystem. But before we start, I would like to share a quote from Franz Landing. It says that biodiversity starts in the distant past and it points forward towards the future. Upon reflecting this, I realized that biodiversity has its origin far back in history and has been evolving over time. It emphasizes that biodiversity is not only a reflection of the past, but also a trajectory for the future. It highlights the interconnectedness of our past, our present, and the future in shaping the diversity of life here on Earth. Since our topic is biodiversity and ecosystem, we must understand the difference between the two. First, biodiversity. When we say biodiversity, it refers to the variety of life form on Earth, encompassing all living organisms from microscopic bacteria to towering trees and majestic animals. So when we say biodiversity, here we talk about living organisms. These can be the animals, the plants, and even us humans. While ecosystem is a dynamic community of organisms interacting with each other in their physical environment. They range from a tiny pond to vast rainforests. When we say ecosystem, it is where organisms live in simple terms. It is a habitat, an environment that supports the needs of these organisms. Is their habitat. It is the environment who supports their needs in order to survive. It is where the organism takes their food, their shelter, and so on. So now we will be talking about the relationship between the biodiversity and the ecosystem, as I have mentioned earlier, that these two are interconnected. It is the biodiversity that shapes the structure and the functioning of the ecosystem, while the ecosystem is the one that provides habitat and resources that is necessary for biodiversity to thrive. Together, they form a web of life that sustains our planet. Some might also ask, do species inhabit the same ecosystem? The answer for this is yes. Multiple species often inhabit the same ecosystem. And these interactions can lead to coexistence of various species within the same ecosystem. Example, a forest ecosystem. They may contain various species from trees, plants, insects, mammals, birds, fungi, and microorganisms. And each of these species occupies a specific role within the ecosystem, utilizing also different resources and contributing to the overall functioning of the system. So despite competitions for resources such as the food, the water, shelter, species have evolved mechanisms to coexist through various ecological interactions. So this mechanism is needed by these animals living in a one ecosystem in order for them to survive. Some species may have competition, especially when the sources is limited, such as the water, the food, and the space. So our first ecological interaction or mechanism is competition. Second is through predation. So when it comes to predation, there is always an existence of two, the predator and the prey. So the prey is the one that hunts and kills and consumes the organism or the prey for food in order for them to sustain the needs of their body. Next is mutualism. Mutualism is a kind of relationship between two species that they both benefit from their interaction. Example for this would be the bee and the flower. So the flower provides the bees with nectar and pollen, which worker bees collect to feed their entire colonies. So from these we can see that they both benefit from the relationship. While in terms of the flower, flower needs the bee in order to reproduce by spreading pollen from flowers to flowers in the process which we called as pollination. So next is the symbiosis. It is a long-term interaction between different species living together which can be beneficial, neutral, or harmful from one or both species involved. An example for this is a bird sitting on the top of a carabao, which we commonly observe in rural areas here in our country. The reason or explanation for this is that the bird perches on the carabao's back in order to feed on insects that bothers the animal. So this is a perfect kind of symbiotic relationship where both benefit from each other. The bird have their food while the carabao experiences comfort since the bird is the one that lessens all the insects that bothers the carabao. So I already mentioned earlier that the ecosystem is a community of living organisms in junction with their non-living component or the abiotic component. So now we will learn the concept of ecosystem. So ecosystem plays a vital role in providing essential services that is crucial for humans for survival and prosperity. So these services encompasses various functions such as first, ensuring that we have a clean air and water, facilitating crop pollination, regulating climate, decomposing waste, and recycling nutrients. Ecosystem also supports biodiversity. Another is it provides habitat for countless species ranging from microscopic organism to iconic wildlife, each contributing uniquely to ecosystem function. So with this, we can say that organisms depend on their ecosystem. And the need of the organism is the one that directs as to what ecosystem they will be. Will it be aquarium, crop field, forest, or a grassland, depending on their needs? Example for this is cow. Cow mainly eat grass. So which means that we know that cow will survive and thrive more in grassland since it is the kind of environment or the ecosystem that meets the requirement of for their survival. So now we will talk about the two components of the ecosystem. And this is very easy. First is the biotic component, and next, or the second, is the abiotic component. So when we say biotic component, from the word itself, bio means life. So biotic components means that these are living organisms, such as your plants, your animals, your fungi, and microscopic organisms. The abiotic components of their environment in order to form a complex ecological relationships that I've mentioned earlier, which is the four: the mutualism, the symbiosis, the predation, and the competition. Next is the abiotic. The abiotic components are non-living factors. In nursing, A means not, missing, without. So, from the word abiotic, knowing that bio means life, this means that if we combine these two, which means that there is no life or life is not existing. So abiotic components is a non-living factor, which includes the soil, the water, the sunlight, the temperature, the air, and even nutrients. And these physical and chemical factors are necessary for the survival and the growth of our biotic organisms. The interconnectedness of abiotic and biotic factors or components lies at the heart of ecosystem dynamics, shaping the structure and the function of ecosystem in a profound way. For example, the sunlight. The sunlight is a critical abiotic component that drives photosynthesis in plants, the process by which they convert light energy into chemical energy. And this energy is now then transferred through the food web as organisms consume plants and other organisms, forming the basis of ecosystems' energy flow. Temperature influences also the metabolic rates of organisms, affecting their growth, their reproduction, and even their distribution. Water also. Water's availability dictates the presence and the distribution of aquatic organisms, while our soil composition and nutrients level determines the type of plants that can grow in an area. Reflecting on this topic, I've found out that the relationship between the abiotic and biotic factors is crucial because they are connected in loops and cycles. For instance, plants affect soil quality by their roots and the organic matters they add. Soil nutrients and composition then impact plant growth. These connections form a complex system where changes in one part can affect the whole ecosystem. This shows that it is the importance of managing ecosystem holistically, considering both the environment and the organisms that is within it. So now we will be talking about biodiversity, its types and significance. So in this subtopic, we will delve into the three dimensions of biodiversity, which includes genetic diversity, species diversity, and ecosystem diversity, each playing a vital role in shaping the resilience and the functionality of our natural world. First is genetic diversity. So to define this, it is a variability in genetic makeup of individuals within a population, within a species, or within a community. So in simple terms, it means that in genetic diversity, there is a differing or variety of genetic traits within a population or species, which is crucial for their long-term survivability and adaptability, as it will allow them to respond to environmental changes, to resist diseases, and adopt a new condition. So this genetic diversity is mainly important for maintaining healthy population as it reduces the risk of inbreeding, depression, and enhances overall fitness of the population. Example for this would be the cheetah. Cheetah knowingly have a low genetic variation compared to other big cat species due to a population bottleneck in their evolutionary history. So this reduced genetic diversity has made cheetah to be more vulnerable to diseases and environmental changes, limiting their adaptability and their ability to survive in changing habitats, which means that conservation efforts are underway to preserve the remaining genetic diversity within the cheetah population in order to ensure its long-term viability. Next is species diversity. It refers to the variety and abundance of different species within a particular habitat, ecosystem, or geographical area. It means that this species diversity is essential for the stability and functioning of our ecosystem, as each species plays a unique role in ecosystem process, such as our pollination, decomposition, and the most important one is our nutrient cycle. So also in here, high species diversity enhances ecosystem, making them more resistant to environmental changes, disease, and invasive species as like in genetic diversity earlier. So example of our species diversity can be found in tropical areas, which are known for their exceptional high species diversity. Example for this is the rainforest, which contains approximately 10% of the world's known species, despite covering only around 6% of Earth's land surface. So next is our ecosystem diversity. It refers to the variety of different ecosystem present in a given area or across the entire planet. So example for this is still our Amazon rainforest, which is a prime example of ecosystem diversity. It is the largest tropical rainforest in the world, spanning multiple countries in South America. As within the Amazon rainforest, there is a remarkable diversity of ecosystem, which includes tropical rainforests, flooded forests, savannas, and montane forests. So when we say ecosystem diversity, is that in one area there are different ecosystem found. And that would be all for my part.